Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Here in South Florida, we have so many senior living communities, and they each differ. And it takes a lot of people to go to a lot of places to find the right one. But this may be the right one for you. And it's also, it's something very special, and I have very interesting guests to tell you all about their community. David LARSEN, who's the Director of Partnership Development, he'll tell you what that means, and MEAGAN GALLAGHER, who's Director of Community Relations, and they're both from Artis Senior Living. That's ARTIS Senior Living. I'm going to start off welcoming both of you, but MEAGAN, when I asked you about the word artist, you said something to me that just made me feel so beautiful and warm about what you do there. Could you repeat that?
Well, Artis, we have our own philosophy, our own unique philosophy. So each letter of Artis stands for something very important, and we make sure, especially David here, make sure that we see that through. So A is ability to have a voice. R is respecting and maintaining relationships. T is treasuring each person's uniqueness. I is integrity, and S is success and recognition. So we make sure that not only our staff experience that, but each and every one of our residents, as well as their family members.
And you know, actually, David, when we're dealing with a population of people who are cognitively challenged, let's say cognitively challenged, that's more important than anything. Why don't you explain really the kind of resident that you have there at Artis?
Each one of our residents are very unique in their own way. So they have their own different stories to tell, lives that they've lived and they're still living, closeness with family members, memories, many memories, reminiscing. And I have the privilege of being able to be very close to not only our residents, but our family members, because our family members need more guidance at times than our residents do, because they're not understanding what's happening. They're thinking that they're losing their loved ones, or their loved ones, are they getting that care? Are they getting the care that they need? So I'm there for them to let them know that we're there. They can call us. They can call me anytime they want. And I'll help them through this.
And something you told me, and I think I hadn't heard of that, but being a social worker is not common in the kind of community you're in, is it?
No, it's not. It's more common in like a skilled nursing facility, but in a assisted living community, social workers are not really used nor thought about because the government doesn't require social workers, but Artis Senior Living feels that it's necessary. And I do believe it really is necessary. There should be a social worker in every building.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm so happy to meet both of you and to hear about your beautiful community. So, MEAGAN, when you go out to try to tell people about Artis, and this is, we have a lot of people trying to do that they all have these communities and everybody's saying something. Mm-hmm. What do you say to make people know that it's so different? I mean, I heard what David said, but what do you do?
Which is, it's all relative. I would say David is our key component, and his position is our key component, and what makes us different than most other places. We really individualize care. As we treasure each person's uniqueness, as I mentioned, so we make sure that everybody is living the life that they want to live, and they're not on our schedule, but we're on theirs. So it's so good to have him here and make sure that's seen through. And
yeah, I'm very happy to hear about this also, because as a gerontologist, I've been around in this for over 30 years, looking at things even the word Alzheimer's was so foreign a few years ago, and we have a woman named Mary Barnes who's very, very active in this whole world. She started talking about Alzheimer's so many years ago, and people said, "What's that?" And then they hid the people who had Alzheimer's. They were not really good for them. So, David, why don't you explain what kind of a person is appropriate for Artis?
Well, they have to be diagnosed with either dementia or Alzheimer's. And it has to be an assisted living. It is an assisted living community. So they have to be able to help themselves a little bit. And that's really our only requirements. They have to be diagnosed.
And is this a rental community?
It is
It's a month to month.
It's
That's
a
what I
month to
meant.
month. Yeah.
People, this is not long-term, where someone has to pay a fee up front. That's very important that people know that. So this is like, that's their new home, and they pay rent that they would in an apartment.
Another thing, too, that we have, which is very nice, is we have what is called respite. And respite, to those of you who don't know what that means, you may have a loved one that is suffering with this illness, and you need a vacation. You need just a little time away. Maybe you just need a weekend to yourself. We have rooms that we can accommodate your family member. I think it's a minimum of
A week.
Oh, thank you. It's a minimum of a week, but it's the same kind of care as that we give the residents who are living there long, for the duration.
And we still get to know them the same way.
Exactly.
And do the partnership profile that we have to offer.
Exactly. So before they walk in the door, everybody, the family members, fill out what's called a partnership profile. This profile is an 8-page booklet, and it asks questions like, what did your loved one do for a living? Did they like what they did for a living? What was their favorite sport or hobby? Did they have a nickname? Do they have any children? All those kind of questions. What was their birthday? Did they like celebrating their birthday? So by the time they come to our community and we open up the front door and greet them, we're able to greet them like they've known us before. We'll use their nickname. And they're thinking to themselves, I must know these people because they know my nickname. So in a way, it's helping us be able to embrace them and welcome them to the community.
David, I can see why you're so valuable to this organization. I mean, you don't hear these words very often. I have to say, you're special, and I know that. Everything is because, first of all, you're talking about the family member who is walking on eggshells, and you're talking about the person who doesn't know where he or she is. They've been moved from here to there to here. Sometimes they start out independent, then they go to another kind of a place, and for you to specialize in cognitive challenges is a whole new thing. I am so happy to hear about Artis and what you're doing. It's a beautiful looking building too. I noticed that. And you have, I think you said that you had 65 rooms?
It's 64 rooms.
64.
And they're all private suites. Beautiful, they're furnished. Sometimes we will remove the furniture if the family members have furniture that they'd like to move in. We'll move the furniture out, and then they can put their own furniture in. We will paint the room a different color if they want the room painted a certain color. We try to make it feel as close to home as possible for these family members.
Okay, so now tell me about your activities. That's something you must love.
We have a great time in activities.
David does a lot of singing.
He's a singer. Chattanooga Choo Choo. Yes, do you know that one?
Yeah.
They love that.
Welcome
Oh, my
aboard.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you told me that, Megan.
It's, in a way, I'll tell you, music, for those who don't know about or have not had the privilege to meet somebody that is suffering with this illness, music is one of the last things that go as far as their memory goes. Music wakes them up. So when we turn music on, all of a sudden their faces light up and they become alive again. They're dancing, they're moving to the music. I have one lady there who wanted to be a ballet dancer. And when she was young, she asked if she could take classes, and her father said no. He said, only tramps go on stage. So she was not allowed to be a ballet dancer. To this day, she regrets the fact that she couldn't be a ballet dancer. She told me the whole story. Every time I turn on music, as soon as her family members leave the room, because she's too embarrassed to see, she gets up and she starts to dance.
Oh, I have goosebumps. What
Yeah.
a story. So that's really what you're saying, that I could see how likable you are, so you could get them to say anything to you, don't they?
Well, they tell me their stories, and I'll tell you something. It's very, very interesting to hear their lives. Most of our residents have the long term, the memory from way back. So they can tell me when they were born, where they were born, what they did for a living, what kind of trips they took, how their husband was. They can tell me all about that. Maybe they forgot what they had for breakfast this morning, but they can really tell me about their life. And they all lived very interesting lives.
And it's nice that we get to remember that and honor that, where some people meet the person in the moment and forget all of their history.
And so they get three meals. Why don't you tell us what their life would be like? Forget that. I mean, when the morning happens, they get showered.
Morning happens, and tea, treasuring each person's uniqueness. If, let's say, Mrs. Jones doesn't get up until 11 o'clock in the morning, well, then Mrs. Jones gets up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then one of our care partners will assist her into the shower, help her shower if she needs the assistance. Then maybe she wants to sit around and read the newspaper for a little while, after which she's hungry. She'll come into her own dining room, because we have 4 neighborhoods in our community, and each neighborhood has their own dining room and their own living room and their own kitchen. So she comes into the dining room. Other people may no longer be in there. The care partner lets our chef know that Mrs. Jones is now ready for breakfast, and our chef cooks her a fresh meal. So it's not a regiment. We don't have people like a cattle call. I hate to use that word, but it's true. I've been in other communities where it's 7 o'clock, everybody wake up, it's time to eat, and if you miss breakfast, then you got to wait until lunch. That's not our way. They will eat breakfast when they are ready to eat breakfast. They will eat lunch when they're ready to eat lunch, and so on and so on.
Sounds like you have a very good staff, because it takes a very good staff to be able to do this.
I think we've got a great philosophy. I think that's really, in a nutshell, it's not just the staff, it's the whole philosophy. And then getting that philosophy together with the staff, that's what makes a perfect environment.
And who started this? Let's talk about the founders of Artis, please. It always takes somebody. It takes somebody who knows somebody who did. It must be a company who had this in their mind, and for them to have decided. Do they have Artis other places than South Florida?
They are actually breaking ground for one in Davie. We don't have a set date for when it may open, but it's going to be off of Flamingo Road and 595, if anybody's familiar with the Davie area. A lot of growers around there, so it's...
But is Artis in other,
in the
other
Northeast,
states?
We have a lot of locations. We have Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania. So we're up there. We're our first Florida location, but they're definitely expanding.
Well, maybe when the next time, and I know we'll have you on again, let's see if we can find out who really had this in his or her idea, because I say this with great sincerity. This is very unique. This is something that we wish more places would do.
And Mary Underwood, who David works very closely with, kind of created the whole philosophy. So she comes down quite frequently and checks in and makes sure that everything is being enacted the way it should be. And
because listen, that doesn't even happen at private homes. Breakfast is at time, forget it. You fix your own otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is lovely. And these people who are they? Tell me about the population. Is it mostly women or?
Surprisingly, it is almost 50-50.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We have a good mix.
We have a lot of gentlemen. Yes.
That's very good
From
to
all
hear.
walks of life. We have doctors. We have one of the doctors who delivered the first test tube baby down here in Florida.
So you found that out, see, because you
did.
pry into everybody's business.
It's because it's called the partnership profile. That's how I found out.
But that is lovely.
Yes.
And I do appreciate what you said more than you can ever know, that you do take everybody as the individual and not group them in like a cattle call. And unfortunately, a lot of places, even maybe their bricks and mortar is beautiful, but what happens inside is not like what you're talking about at your place.
Right. We had a lady come in yesterday. She's there. Her husband is looking for another place for her to live. She's at the point where she needs more of a community like ours. And she was an author of a book, and it's called Dispelling the Myths of Dementia Through Poetry. And what she would do is she would go see her mother. She visited her mother in New York, and she would get a small group together, and maybe one day she'd put a statue like a Buddha in front of her, and then she'd ask everybody what their feelings were in words about the Buddha. And she'd write down every word that each person said, and she'd make a poem out of it. So each person had their own little story.
And this woman is now coming to live at Artis.
This woman is now coming to live at Artis, and she will be the head of our poetry department. Which also reminds me, if anybody is out there listening to this radio station right now, I can use volunteers. So if anybody has that special voice, that voice that can read like poetry, our residents are mesmerized by the sound of a voice. It's not necessarily what we're saying, it's how we're saying it. It's like a rhythm and a pattern, even with music. It's soothing to them, and you can see that they're just getting so involved into the words that you're saying. So if there's anybody out there that has that special voice, please call me at Artis.
Okay.
Because I could really use that volunteer.
I love that. Volunteers, awaken. We have to do something here. Let me give you a phone number. They can call you at Artis, which is at 561-989-9945. Again, get your pencils out. Remember, I always tell you it's Pencil Talk Radio. You're never going to remember this. It's 561-989-9945. That's for you to get more information about Artis, or if you just want to talk to David or to Megan, or if you will volunteer. And if you don't have a great voice, I'm sure there's something else that he'll figure out for you to do, painting or something. I'm mesmerized what you said. Talk about synchronicity. Here's a woman. Can you imagine this? So here's a woman who wrote this, and now she's needing it herself.
Yes.
I mean, this is a big story.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have to just tell you, I've not heard anything like that before. And I'm sure, as you said, you have a choice of 64 different people, and going into each one of their little chapters of their lives. You have anything else exciting like that you just told us about some of those people?
Oh, boy.
We don't mention names.
Everybody has such wonderful lives. I have a gentleman who was, he was the head of a very large insurance company, and he loved children, and he built a baseball field in Delray and had the baseball field. It's named after him. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of philanthropists, people who gave to our community and still are giving. We had one of our ambassador actually got together a group, and we collected toys for tots. And a few weeks ago, right before Christmas, I dressed up as Santa, and her and I hopped in the car and drove to the fire station down the street here in Boca and handed them a huge box of toys. And they were so thankful for it, but it was her idea. So we still have people that have ideas that used to do, and they still are doing. And that's why our respecting and maintaining relationships, that's what we're still trying to do. We're doing an I Can program, and that is showing people that we still can do certain things. We still can write. We still can volunteer. We still can give to the community. So,
and I'm sure you have some of those people who play piano.
We do.
I know, because piano seems, like you said, with music. My mother had Alzheimer's at the Lewy body type at the very end, and she remembered how to play piano most of the time.
It's very rough for them in the beginning, though, because they're embarrassed at first to get on that piano because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake. So what I have to do is I have to get them in a room, just myself and them. and say, it's just you and me. Go at it. And I'll sing with you. And I'll name a song, or they'll tell me a song that they like to play, and they'll start playing it, and then I'll start singing. And when they realize that they're really doing a good job, then we start introducing the rest of the community into it. It takes a little bit of time, but they're afraid that they're going to make a mistake. That's why that lady who refuses to dance in front of her daughter because she's too afraid that she's going to embarrass her or make a mistake, as soon as the daughter leaves the room, she's up there doing the pirouette, or I forgot what the plies or whatever she told me the name of it was. She's doing it. So
David,
yes.
what stone did you crawl out of? I mean, you are absolutely a sight for sore eyes. I have never met or heard about someone like you, especially, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be chauvinist, a male. I mean, how did you grow up? What kind of parents did you have?
You know, as a young kid, we had a neighbor who I was walking to school one day, and she stopped me and she said, young man, she said, could you stop off and pick me up a gallon of milk on your way home from school? Because there was a little grocery store there. So she gave me the money, and I did, and I sat and I talked with her for a little while, and it became a regular thing. And I told my mother about her, because my mother said, why are you being late for school? And I says, because our neighbor needs help. And she said, well, you keep doing what you do. She said, so she needed the help. And I just think that I grew up feeling that if somebody needs help, then we're here to help them. I think that's how it came about. I don't know.
Megan, what a heart he has, isn't it? It's really big. Now I know why you love him. You like to go out in the community and try to talk about artists, don't you? Because you know that you will not be embarrassed or ashamed when someone says, okay, I'm going to come over there, right?
Absolutely not. I'm very proud of what we have to offer. I'm very happy to work for such a wonderful company.
Yes, and it really takes management to allow this. It's just like David started off saying, they have someone like David. Well, if they don't have a David, they just check people in. They come in, and everybody takes care of. You have activities, you have food, and they're all in like a big group. I can't tell you. I mean, I thought I knew about artists because, you have now started advertising with us, and I've read your website, but it's not the same as having you here in the flesh and understanding who you are. You have my vote of approval. I am just so thrilled to hear this. So do you still have space? I know you're fairly new, aren't you, in the Boca Raton?
Yeah, we're filling up quickly, but we do still have
I would think
so.
So we want to really let everybody know about this, because we have a lot of people with cognitive difficulty.
And let me tell you one thing too. Not only are we different because we have a social worker and we do live by the ARTIS way.
Wait, excuse me, I have to correct you. Not just any social worker. It's now that I've met you, no way. This is a spectacular social worker. It makes a difference. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. You have to come to our community, because when you walk through the doors, it was a thought-out community. It was planned for memory care in mind. There's so much freedom. The medicine carts, they look like a piece of furniture. We don't wear scrubs. We wear regular clothes. You're not going to see a stethoscope. So when people are in our community, living in our community, it feels more like you're at a spa or a hotel. The outside, it's all enclosed, it's secured, but they're able to walk outside and sit on a bench or walk through the pathways. We have gardens out there.
With music piped in?
The music playing outside also.
I do know that. I knew
Yes.
that was going to come.
And we have hydration stations, so they can grab a glass of water throughout their walk. And, of course, we've got eyes on them, so after 15, 20 minutes, we're making sure that they're okay. But they have their freedom. There's not, a door locked on them. I went into one community where it was an afterthought, I hope, because all they were doing was looking out of a window. And I'm like, what kind of a life is that? They don't have the freedom of being outside and breathing this beautiful fresh air in South Florida.
Well, I will tell you a little history about what you just said, because I've been doing this for a long time. started out, a lot of developers came down here and they said, oh, our people 65, 70, they're going to run to all these independent living communities. That didn't turn out that way. Then they figured, okay, they'll start putting in some that are more assistive living. And what they had to do was alter what they had. And that wasn't working so well. Now they're getting people with MEMI disorders, cognitive disorders. So now they're trying to change what they had there. But it sounds like Artis came in knowing what was the right thing, because you just started here and you have seen, I'm sure the company you work for has analyzed a lot of the other places, and they've tried to make this what the others aren't. Exactly. And I applaud them for this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come and have a personal tour. I've not had that. You know, I
must.
I will, and I'm coming because I want to see this. I've been begging for a place like this. I've known that this has been necessary. I'll tell you another story you'll appreciate, and I know we don't have much time, but I just want to say it. I did a lot of volunteering at nursing homes, and I saw a lot of people, like you said, with great histories, and I wanted to put up plaques about them because some of the people taking care of them didn't really know. They told me that I couldn't do it because it was against laws to let people know things. I never have forgotten that. That's why I have a very sore spot for what you're telling me. Anyway, we've run out of time. I want everyone to go. They can go for a tour, and I know that. The phone number to call to do that is 561-989-9945. 561-989-9945. You can have a tour. Go on their website. It's Artis, ARTIS, seniorliving.com. We'll see you at the expo. Everybody come and talk to Megan and David. You better be there.
Oh, I'll be there.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you so
Goodbye.
much.